Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a comedy movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Hell Baby. So Hell Baby is brought to you by the creative team behind Reno 911, most notably Thomas Lennon. So the best way I can describe this movie is this. You've obviously seen a lot of the horror sort of parody films, the comedy parody films like Scary Movie, Haunted House, stuff like that. So if you can imagine them, and then you've got your kind of more traditional horror comedy like say Ghostbusters or Monster Squad. I'd say this film kind of falls between those two type of films, although I guess maybe slightly more towards parody than the other. So this actually does have a kind of narrative story, and why I say it's different from the kind of maybe like the Scary Movie films. It doesn't necessarily take jokes from sort of popular culture as much as those films do. Now this film primarily is based on a kind of possession type film, and we've seen quite a lot of these possession films recently, but that really is the only kind of genre it really sort of apes. So the story takes place, I believe in Louisiana or something like that, and a couple buy this kind of old dilapidated house, and they're played by Rob Corddry and Leslie Bibb, who looks just like Elle Macpherson, I've got to say. And this house basically has got this kind of long reputation of being this sort of house of blood and various other sort of like horrific names and stuff like that. They obviously buy it on the cheap thinking it's a great bargain, but the reason it's cheap is because it's got such a bad history. And there basically sort of strange stuff starts to happen. Leslie Bibb is actually pregnant, and basically her kind of baby gets possessed by the devil and causes ultimately her to become possessed. Cue lots of kind of jokes basically. Then you've got this kind of pair of sort of rock star sort of priests from the Vatican that are sort of sent to America to try and sort of fight the evil, and basically one of them is played by Thomas Lennon. They're kind of these like chain smoking, sunglass wearing sort of exorcists really, and they're quite fun. So that's the basic plot of the film without really going into too many spoilers. So what's it like? Like I said, this film actually has a proper narrative story in it. So it's a little bit different from say like your more of your Scary Movie films, which are just really a sort of various different skits really sort of strung together by what some people may call a story, but I certainly don't. It's not really meant to be taken as a serious horror film, obviously. It does actually have a couple of maybe jump out your seat moments and a couple of jump scares. They actually kind of almost make a joke of the fact that people get sort of tired of jump scares and things like that. Towards it does actually have a little bit of gore in it as well, and it's actually a little bit disturbing in a certain degree. So I'll come on to it in just a second. Now the comedy, if you've seen your preview of this, I saw the preview and I thought that this film looked hilariously funny. And I've got to be honest with you, when you kind of watch it as a whole film, it isn't as funny as the preview suggests, I would have to say. I was never kind of like really rolling around laughing in this film. Some of the jokes are funny, but to be honest with you, a lot of them fall pretty flat. And I do find that with Reno 911, and I saw that film and that's exactly what I felt with that one as well. I think Rob Corddry, is a funny guy. I enjoy watching him on screen. So when he's on the screen, I do think he probably elevates this film a little bit more than it could have been. But the comedy, as I say, is rather hit and miss. It's probably about 50-50 into jokes for that hit compared to miss. I won't go too much into the sort of the actual what actually happens. But like I said, there's a scene at the end here which I think may put some people off. It maybe pushes the how can I put this? It maybe pushes the extremes of taste a little bit too far sometimes. So I actually don't have a problem with it necessarily, but I can imagine some people finding it slightly offensive. I won't go into too much detail about what it actually is. You have to find out for yourself. Suffice to say, it was probably better than a lot of these horror spoof films that you've seen, but I don't think it was as good as I was certainly expecting. So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. So not bad. I have certainly seen it was better than average of this type of film. 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.